Hello, good evening, and welcome to Crash Compilation 7. JACKOCAR Kia Series. Welcome back, everyone. Yes, hello, good evening, welcome. My name is Gareth Hall. Welcome back to JACKOCAR. This is unfortunately the Kia Series, and equally as unfortunately, I'm once again joined by Mr. Yuri Hasselhager. How are we doing, Yuri?
Better than last week, so that's one thing. And thank you for saying unfortunate, because that is about the same as I feel about joining you here tonight for the third running of the Hungarian Grand Prix in JACKOCAR Kia Series.
It is. We are over in Budapest. Of course, the two cities, Buda on one side of the river and Pest on the other side of the river, split by the Danube, the blue Danube, as if you listen to the famous bit of classical music. Former winners over here, well, Season 5, Matt Lester. He took Season 5, and Season 3, it went to Yuri, so clearly there was no one else racing that day. Last time we were here was Matt Lester's win, 7th of March 2023, Season 5, first round of the season. It was Lesty, Rageman and Jacko ended up on the podium. This time it will be, I imagine, a mixture of, well, we've got the likes of Quinn, Jacko, both through to the playoffs already. They are your opening winners. Of course, Quinn decided to give Jacko and shame Jacko into not earning another race victory last week in Miami, but that means they are through to the playoffs. First round of the season, Quinn was on the podium. Of course, he finished with that win. And Rageman in P2 and Waze in P3. Round 2, it was Jacko, Quinn and Vatsinho, I believe it was, that finished in P3.
Right, Gareth, you're such a professional commentator that you don't look at your phone, but could you please press triangle? Thank you.
Please. Oh, yeah, of course. No. And now I'm playing something else. Well, they can listen. They can sit and listen to anyway. But 29 seconds, we'll head off, and well, it's known as a street track without walls. Effectively, it's a very high downforce setup around Hungary. Yuri, what are we thinking about Budapest this evening?
This evening? Well, other than this evening, Budapest is a terrible, or not city, like Hungary is a terrible track. Budapest, never been. Heard it's quite pleasant.
Very cheap as well. The cheapest Grand Prix tickets you can go to. Do you know you can get tickets to sit at the chicane in the second sector for £83, which I'm not quite sure how that translates over to
Matt
euro.
Ryan went there.
Oh yeah, because he's cheap, 100%.
Yeah,
but
no money.
yeah, you sit in that chicane for less than £100 for the weekend. So very cheap one to go to. And then of course Matt Ryan, who is unaffiliated to JACKOCAR currently. We'll see if we can change that. But of course, there are other reasons why he goes to Budapest. It involves the late night entertainment, but we'll leave that to your collective imaginations. Session starting in 5 seconds' time. A small one tonight. Really shameful lack of attendance from a number of you tonight, and well, I think you'll find if this goes any lower that Yuri and I will be on strike moving forward. But 18 minutes are the qualifying sessions. Of course, if you're new to JACKOCAR, trust me, you're in store for something quite fascinating. You'll never know how 14 people can be quite so slow around a circuit that's only really a 1 minute, 1 minute 14 around here, about that sort of lap time. It's not a particularly slow lap. And
our lap record is by Victor's. And he's done it in 1:12.3.
There you go. So even quicker than that. So looking around the 72-second mark. And we have got 14 people attempting to make their way around. I reckon by the end of the evening we'll have about 8 or 9. If we're lucky, of course. We've got Michael O'Keke. We have got Jack Ricketts. We've got Harry Collier. We have got Dawson Rocco. We've got Danny Quinn. We've got Robin Border, Matt Newgarden, Wade Cooper, Victor Souza. We've got Matt Lester, Barry Baldwin, Paul McGuinness, Rika Beckenkamp and Thomas Nevitt this evening. A couple of drivers are off on holiday. A couple haven't showed up and will be chastised for the rest of the evening. But of course, as I was saying, with the session, one shot quali, so everyone will get 1 out lap, 1 flying lap, 1 in lap, and that will be it for them in quali. So No testing yourself out, no testing the strategy, no testing the setup. Very much just go out and do your thing over that one lap. And of course, we will have a joker this evening. So over the season, everyone is allowed to do one stop instead of the usual mandatory 2 stop that everyone else has to do. You're allowed to elect one race, and one of those races that has been chosen tonight was Mr. Matt Lester, who at the time said he didn't realise that he had to let us know what his joker was. So it was left up to Yuri and I, and so Matt Lester will take a joker tonight. Thomas Nevitt will take one, and I believe we've got Dustin Rocco taking his as well. Oh, it's Matt. No, is it? It's
I
not
also
Lesty.
had Matt Davis as a joker.
No, it's Davis. It is. Oh, it was my apologies.
Yeah.
I've got Matt written down here rather than. It's because I don't even expect Davis to show up.
He was supposed to be out already on track, but he decided to not appear yet again. And you know why? Because I've recently found out why he doesn't bother showing up. Because it's literally that. The reason is he doesn't have the game.
Are you joking?
No, I am not joking. I just jumped into a party because I saw him online with some of his mates, and I was like, "Hey, you racing tonight?" And he's like, "No, mate, don't have the game."
Sound. Right, so GG's on Matt Davis. We'll see him on F1 24. Michael O'Kk will be making his way out then. He'll be our first lap tonight, and we'll get all the stuff you all want to see up. You've got your tyres, track map, and your lap data. So you won't get the gear shifts from me. It looks crap. I won't put it up on the screen. You can all make up your minds about what you think everyone's revs are and where their battery is. Look at it from a commentator's POV. You don't need any more information than that. But Yuri, why don't you take us on a lap around Hungary with OKK on his outlap?
On his outlap? Well, he goes absolutely full beam into turn 5. The inside curb here is really interesting. What I've noticed, by the way, is that Michael forgot to turn down his ERS for this outlap. So I hope he doesn't burn all of it, or if he just found the switch. Anyway, this is some interesting sections where there's... Whenever you're behind someone really slow, you tend to go for a move around the outside here and then end up being forced absolutely off to, well, either Buda or Pest, whichever way of this, the river you are. As OKK is slowly entering Sector 3, trying to get some tire temp and maybe some ERS back. As he... oh, well, we don't mind that, byways. As he enters the penultimate corner, number 13, and he starts to line himself up for his hot lap.
He does indeed. Slowing himself right down. He's going to send it around this hairpin final corner, and we're going to get qualifying underway with Michael O'Kk. Michael O'Kk, who's actually scheduled to make his first ever professional boxing fight in November. He's due to go up against a man in a weight category 4 above what he's currently weighing in. But Michael is confident that Mike the Spike O'Kk will use his illegal gloves to put the 16-stone heavyweight down in the second round. Not quite sure there's any weird betting going on that, but you can trust the likes of the ART boys that they might have a few quid on OKK, and perhaps a strange upset. Can he keep it within the white lines? Yes, he can. Now, up through the second sector now, and you can see it's all about the braking points around here, and that is not one of them, as Michael goes straight off into the gravel and gets it back out on circuit, and perhaps was caught out by the glare on the metallic look of that car, but unfortunately for Michael, it will be most likely towards the back of this one, because he's going to have to finish probably around about 5 or 6 seconds off of what the pole will be, if not even slower. Of course, what you do have to do at JACKOCAR is complete your lap. You can't just, if you've bottled it, just come into the pit lane. They will have to complete the lap. So you'll see that Michael will round the final corner. One of, as I'm going through my list here, 14 of them, and it's a 1:23.107. Next up, Paul McGuinness.
And then we'll join Paul, who keeps it within the lines as well in turn 4.
Yuri's going through his notes. Desperately trying to
No,
find
I
things.
actually had an internet issue there, I think.
I did.
I was speaking, but
you did sound a bit strange. You did go a bit roboty
yeah, that makes
for a
sense
second.
then. I was talking about Paul and how he kept it in the wide lines in turn 4 as well. But anyway, we're way past that now. We're going into turn 12, and he is purple. That is measured to the guy who is 2 positions ahead of him, Lesty. So well done, Paul, on being faster than Lesty. Into the penultimate corner, runs out wide, and then tries to maximize this radius. Early on the power, early on the DRS, and down the line, a 1:17.3.
Paul McGuinness, who of course is the percussionist for the Scottish rock band Biffy Clyro, currently on a break from touring, which is why he's rejoined JACKOCAR this season. We now go over to Thomas Nevitt, and Thomas, who's out on his flying lap as well, hoping for a good result. He's not had the greatest of runs over the last few weeks. Thomas Nevitt was actually expelled from school for once replacing every Bunsen burner in his science lab with ship flares. He burnt down 68% of his secondary school. Well, we'll see if he's on fire. There you go, there's the pun tonight, but we'll see. 2 more corners left to go as he goes through turn 13 in towards turn 14, and what can Mr. Nevitt do as he rounds the final corner, opens up the DRS, runs to the line. It's going to be a 1:18.155 and puts him currently P2 on the grid.
As we move over to Baza, who is our lobby host. So whenever something goes wrong with this lobby, you know where to appoint your anger and your hatred. It is F1 Baza 86. Anyway, into turn 11, he just about keeps it under control there. And down this mini straight up towards turn 12. Hits the curve kinda okay. And then here, he's a bit wider on entry than Paul was. And a bit wider on exit as well. Bit tighter on the... You want to be a little bit closer to the curb. You want to practically kiss that barrier there. And then you know you've done a good lap. And he does a 18.5, 4/10 of Thomas.
I don't think we get into that 1:12 that we've seen previously, but there is Baza. He goes P3.
It has to be said that the 1:12 was done on F121, so by a little bit quicker cars.
No excuses.
No, you're right. Actually, sorry for saying that.
as Baza does an 18.515. Barry Baldwin, who once grew the world's largest cucumber. It weighed in at 67 kilograms. It was 4 foot in diameter. It disappeared strangely one night, caught on CCTV being carried into a hotel room with a vat of KY jelly by Jess Ball. Not quite sure what happened after that, but I'm sure we'll find out in due course. Jess, of course, not here this evening. I wonder why that is. But 8 minutes and 42 seconds left on the clock. And we've now got outlaps for Rico, who's just about to start his lap, and Rico Birkenkamp, who is definitely starting to bed himself in with this game after a bit of a shaky start, let's say, over the first few rounds in various other leagues. But Rico, who was...
yeah. Various other rounds. I was going to say something about it, because I mentioned that he has a thing for collecting car parts, and about a week ago he added some front wing and some barge board of F2 cars to his collection.
Well, a bit of a kleptomaniac, I think you'd call it. A scientific name, a person that collects things. Yes, and Rico, one of those who I've got one written down for Rico, but I'm not quite sure if I've used it or not. Is this his first appearance this season? I know he's missed it. Yeah, I might have used it already. So we'll come back to Rico later on. I'll have to think of something on the fly of absolute facts. True facts. It's not. I'm not just thinking of these things. It's true facts. But Rico, who's just rounding the final 2 corners now. Penultimate corner, of course, is a double hairpin to end the lap through turn 14. And open up the throttle, get it straightened up as soon as possible. DRS opens as well, up to the line. It's going to be an 18.247, puts him P3 currently. What can Matt Rosemond, of course, Speed Newgarden, do? He's currently coming up to the chicane.
Matt Rosemond, or Speed Newgarden as you said it so yourself, is running his favourite IndyCar driver's livery. Who would have thought? Such a shock, such a surprise. He is indeed running Newgarden's livery, the Verizon livery, if I'm not mistaken. And I desperately hope that he does better than Newgarden with his final few races this season. because that was appalling and very unlucky. Matt, 2 corners to go as he finishes his lap, and he goes through the final corner, takes a nice line, better than I've seen from others, and to the line, 18.0, not bad.
Still 7/10 off Paul McGuinness's time. Matt Rosemond, actually so old, he was at the splitting of Pangaea, back when the continents we know today became separate entities. He noticed that the UK and Ireland were close to separating, and after hearing a jellyfish shout, "What's the crack?" he got scared and kicked the island part, his weakest point, to break it off into 2 bits of land. He stayed in England, and there he has been ever since. Goes P2. Matt Lester has invalidated, which continues the theme of who is Matt Lester. He, of course, clearly wants to start at the back of this one. An invalidation will put him behind OKK, so even with OKK's 1:23 F2 time, Matt Lester is going to start towards the back, of course. And another driver that's been a former winner, but it won't be tonight.
Yeah, due to his high race number, he'll start at the back regardless of whatever happens. He doesn't mind that, though, to be fair, because last season, when we started the season off in this race, he was in earlier in the race. He was in competition to win the race, leading some laps, being up front, and then he had some bad luck, cycled back to the rear. But with 5 laps to go, he was 9th and still manages to win. So I am not counting this guy out, starting from the very back of the pack.
True, he did start in P12 and came through to win that race. What could Dustin Rocco do? Man, on his Joker, P2, a 17.658. Dustin, who owns a watch that's so broken the time actually goes backwards and anti-clockwise. He's never replaced it. He's learned to live with living in an alternate reality. As we've got now... he's completed, so we've got Harry Collier out on circuit. Harry was actually born with one compound eye. He has the usual vision of human on his left side, but on his right side it looks much like a fly, and he can see in 270 degrees. Doesn't do anything to his driving, doesn't help him, doesn't hinder him. Just gets on with it, just looks a bit weird. But Harry Collier there on circuit, as he's now making his way up to what will probably want to be the hardest corners for these guys, and he just keeps that in a straight line. He wanted to step out. As you can see, a lot of the guys will struggle through turn 4. And in turn 5, ever since I've known this game, it's been an auto spin curb if you touch the inside curb. Through the chicane at 6 and 7, 8 and 9 come at
F1 2003, you said.
I mean, literally, pretty much every game, if you touch that inside curb, you die.
Yeah, I looked back the stream because we do some kind of research, guys. We do take it a little serious. I did research at F1 2003.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Oh, never mind. Who cares? It's true anyway. I'm sure. If I say it is, it's fact. Harry Absolutely. Up to the line, straightens the car out, gets it going. It's going to be an 18. It's going to be an 18.130. Puts him currently P4. Victor Souza out on the circuit.
Yeah, if you just kick out Dustin and Paul, this would actually be kind of interesting. They're too quick. Go to Cup. Anyway, Victor, as he also goes purple, that is measured towards Rageman, who has said no time. So Victor, well done, buddy. Good for you. I have actually nothing written down for Victor other than that he's Brazilian and has shit internet. Other than that, he's a decent driver. So.
I've got, of course, a fact about Victor Souza. He's consumed 17 coconuts in the past 36 hours. He eats them whole and swallows much like a snake. He lays on the ground and slowly devours the husked nut and will not need to eat for the next 3 months. So clearly the diet going well for Mr. Souza. What can he do as he comes up to the final corner? Another one that should be doing well around here is one of those drivers that can skirt around the top 5, gets a little bit squirrely out the final corner, but still manages to put on P1, 17.186. He actually cut across the track, which may have cost him a couple hundredths of a second there. You kind of want to keep the car as straight as possible, but takes pole by almost 0.2 of a second. A man that finished on the podium not only this season but previously in Hungary. Rageman, what can he do as he's taking the line quickly? It's going to be P2, a 17.250. We're starting to get competent now with a couple of quick laps. I say competent as we've got Quinn and Jacko out on circuit, so that's going to dramatically drop down. Jack Ricketts, who is out on circuit now, and Jacko, who of course inherited a cheap win last week, was actually caught doing drugs whilst at work in this last week. He was found doing poppers in a van, inhaling the room deodorizer to relax himself and other items upon his person. But Jacko making his way around, and of course finished on the podium last time we were here. Can he do it again? He needs to find his way to S-House, his way to the Championship 5 once again, where he's found his way to the playoffs, and is, I'm sure, going to try and find a way to tell people to move out the way, or pay them off, or tell them they'll get a cup run next season or something like that to maintain this winning run that's never seen him win more than one race. Concurrently, of course, he's taken 2 race victories, both on the last, effectively last corner, if that's even it, on the line. Because I don't even think in Saudi Arabia, I think he crossed the line in like 4th or something like that. But up to was it around that?
I think he won both of them on the final 100 meters. They were more gifted than your win.
Well, that was pure pace, as Jacko does a 17 flat.
Pure pace, as you say.
Yeah, so clearly that's got the Red Bull floor, or pre-Singapore Red Bull floor attached to it, because there's no way he'd be that quick. Over to Cameron Quinn, or Come Mother Run. I don't know. Or as Ben Shaw quite eloquently put it, Come Rag Racing. So he's out on circuit, and he is currently, of course, leading the way, a first and a second so far this season, and looking to potentially take a pole position. Spent the last week attempting to fight extradition to Paraguay, where he's thought to have committed several crimes such as assault, perjury and attempted murder, because he saw a tweet from a 9-year-old who said that Luton would score no points this season and Danny can't accept facts. Up to the line, what can he do? It's going to be pole by a million miles. A 16.879. What a shock. Quinn goes fastest.
Right, in amongst the final drivers, Waze has done his trademark thing, and I think he's gone to the shops. Because he's not set a lap, he's not gone out, he's not done anything. He stayed in. So...
that's a penalty.
Really wondering what he's been up to.
That's a 30-second time penalty for Waze already, I'm pretty sure. As we've got...
Oh, he said internet was dead.
Oh, well, I'm sure that's an excuse. Don't worry, we'll get to his. We can get to on the formation lap his fact.
Well,
but
he is actually the only one I still have something written down for.
I've got one too. So he'll get double barreled on the formation lap. So here we go. So we've got Cameron Quinn takes pole position ahead of Jacko 105.09. Vitinho Haas, then Rageman _32, Paul MCGM92, Fozzie Bayer 70, Speed _Newgarden, Harry Collier 98, T Nevitt 1996, Wasabi Sniver, F1 Bazzer 86, OKK21, Sheckways and Lesty the Twig. It sounds ridiculous when you say usernames. Change all of them to your name. But it is Quinn that takes pole position with a 16.879, the only one to hit the 16s. And then we've got the 17s in a pretty, I say, somewhat competitive qualifying session, as you say, from a couple of positions. But does mean we're going to get our notorious field spread, I'd imagine, because we've got drivers in there around 2 seconds a lap slower than Quinn. So we've got potentially Quinn, Jacko, and maybe some of the others that may be able to keep up. We will see, of course. This is where I'm supposed to say this is JACKOCAR and anything that can happen, but this is JACKOCAR and usually the worst thing happens, or Kia Series I should say, the worst thing happens. But what we have got is lined up for you this evening is, as promised last week, if there is a safety car, that we will be reviewing the 2001 thriller that is Driven. And Yuri's watched it. I've read a critical review on it and made some notes, and we will be discussing.
I can't believe you didn't take this serious.
I didn't feel like I needed to because I could probably remember the plot without watching it.
Previous to tonight, I was seriously in like a battle. Like, do I go with this and try and defend this as the greatest racing movie there ever is? Am I going to be like so blunt and ignorant to all the mistakes that there are and just gonna say no, and that crash was super realistic, or driving down the streets in 2 stolen race cars will only get you $25,000 fines by the organization of said racing category? And in the end I did decide to be critic about it. So
well, off on the formation lab, we can actually have that conversation of what is the best motorsport related movie.
Well, they're all shit, to be fair.
There's been a couple that are decent.
I haven't seen all of them, but the ones I've seen all have the same plot, same story, same.
Oh, of course they do.
Where are you going, Quinn?
Quinn's making sure that he's going to muddy up those tyres. He's gone for mediums. We will go through the tyres. So mediums for him, mediums for Harry, and mediums for Thomas. Softs for everyone else. So the guys on the Joker, of course, will be looking at doing a 1-stop. Everyone else doing the 2-stop. So we've got Thomas is on a 1-stop. Dustin Rolko, who is Fozzie Bear 70, will also be doing 1-stop. So he's going on a separate strategy compared to the other two that are going, of course, onto the mediums. But yeah, so interesting to see what Quinn can do off the start, of course, with Jacko alongside him. Jacko and Quinn now go into their little all friends party together, so they can hopefully run into each other at the first corner. But Quinn P1, Jacko, then we've got Victor Souza, Rageman, Paul McGuinness look like they will be probably your 5 to get away with this one. Dustin Rolko, who was coming back at the end, I believe it was doing semi-well at the restart last week, and then unfortunately got caught up in when OKK decided to drive the wrong way down the circuit and drove straight into the front of both Dustin and Thomas Nevitt. But around the final corner, 35 laps of this track. God help us all. So, final thoughts before we kick off, Yuri. Who's winning this one?
35 laps of pure action and thrilling. And who is?
Oh, he's trying it.
Dustin.
It was a nice attempt. I appreciate the attempt.
Rageman. Anyway, who's winning? Quinn's winning. I know, boring, but Quinn's winning. Or Leslie. Quinn or Leslie.
Well, we'll find out. We've got lights on, 3, 4, 5, lights on, pause, lights out, and we're underway here in Hungary. And it's a good start from Quinn, who cuts across Jacko already behind. You can see Virginia's going around the outside of Jacko. He's already got the run on him. Jacko's going to have to defend from Rageman, who's trying to go down the inside. Rageman has to get out of the throttle, and he's going to lose a couple of positions doing that. And it looks as though, even with these terrible Kango angles, that Rageman's dropped down to P6. Now Quinn gets away. Vitinho going up to P2 around the outside there. That's Paul McGuinness trying to get the move done as well, but he's being fought all the way with both the lights of Harry Collier, who's trying to move up positions, of course, on his medium rubbers. Into turn 4 for the first time. Who's going to crash? Surely someone's going to crash. It looks as though we might have just about all got through. So it just turns out that we actually just need to have 6 cars less on the grid to not have a crash on the first lap of the race. I won't be holding my breath anytime soon as across the chicane goes Matt Lester, but it is now Vitinho starting to put the pressure on Danny Quinn at the front of this one as they both make their way around turn 11, that is, I believe, and into turn 12. Turn 13 coming up very, very shortly. Final lap's about to be completed with Danny Quinn leading from Vitinho. We do have a crash at the back, and it is Wace and OKK that have collided, but no VSC, no safety car just yet.
And that is end plate damage for Michael, unfortunately, who will straight up head to the pits to serve, or not serve a penalty, to get that wing changed. As Paul and Jacko are having a nice little battle with Jacko falling down the order after that start.
Yeah, he is not doing great. I'm just trying to look at Jacko's, like, his livery kind of looks. I don't, he's kind of muted. It's almost like he's got, like, I guess it's because he's up against Paul McGuinness, who's got quite the bright red, and Jacko's gone for the more matte red. I'm not quite sure it pops as much. I think he could have put a bit of gloss on that, and it might have made it shine out a little bit.
Yeah, especially with that chrome bit. Yeah,
yeah,
so.
that's what I was thinking. Kind of ruined it. Lovely
Contrast
move
is nice
there
and
from
stuff,
Paul
but
McGuinness,
not in...
who's almost got the move down on Fozzie Bear, who's had a good start to P3. But sorry, I'll cut you off as you were saying.
No problem, because you were focused on the race whilst I was focused on talking...
oh, it's more interesting than a race, don't worry.
Really? Because they're still close now. We might not get this for a while.
Well, Paul McGuinness almost loses the back end there as he got on the curb, just unsettled the car, almost did a Lance Stroll. And you can see Jacko now under threat from Rageman, so Rageman's starting to put the pressure on. So Jacko, after starting in P2, already finds himself in P5 at the end of lap 2. Quinn's done the fastest lap once again, and he's starting to stretch that lead down 1.2 seconds. So even on the medium tyres, he's already built himself outside of DRS as Jacko is looking to the inside of Paul McGuinness. He's taking the inside line, washes out a little bit wide. Is it going to block off Rageman, who's already down the inside? Jacko is going to come across him as a little bit of trading paint on the tyres as they go side by side through turn 2. Jacko's going to try and hold the inside line. Are they keeping it clean? Yes, they do. Jacko's still side by side of him. And this is all about keeping your nerve around the final fast turn 4. And Jacko does the smart thing, backs out of that one, and now drops down another position as Matt Lester picks up 3 seconds. He's down in P12. That may not be that race win that you were projecting.
It's still happening. I've got full faith in Lesty, as Rico also adds to the penalty list. I've got full faith in the second best Met in the tier, and I'm not at all biased in that.
Should we do some... I'm just trying to see if we've got any... No one really super close just at the moment.
Well,
we've got Thomas
and
Nevitt.
Rico.
Yeah, we'll go on, we'll look at Thomas and Rico whilst I just quickly run you through some facts about the circuit. I haven't really done any facts so far this season. Usually keep them... when I was on my own, I'd need to find something to talk about. And now I've got a colleague, as Thomas Nevitt, almost cuts that car in half going around the final corner there. He was that close to the wall. But... DRS is enabled for him, but we do have the maximum speed around here being around about 195 miles an hour. That's 315 kilometres an hour for those of you that like to work in idiot speed. We have got the distance from grid 1 to turn 1 is 680 metres. Yeah, that cold isn't getting any better, is it?
Oh no, that was on purpose.
And DRS zone 1, the detection meter is 5 metres before turn 14. Activation is 40 metres after turn 14. DRS zone 2 detection is the same of activation 1, as Thomas Nevitt has gone off the track and is now missing an end plate after losing it. He has our first casualty at turn 4. So Thomas, who has interrupted my track fact speech, and he's now cut the chicane. I know, it's ridiculous. I'm just going to continue. Full throttle, 50%, only 50%. Longest flat out section is 908 metres. Downforce is high. Fuel per lap is 1.5 kilograms of fuel per lap. Time penalty per lap of fuel is actually 59 thousandths of a second. Pit lane time loss is 20 seconds. Tyre compounds C3, C4, C5, the soft, the medium, and the hard.
Right, I think interesting facts, but let's go back to the little racing we still have, because I think Robin has had just about enough of sitting behind Paul McGuinness. At least I would have.
I was going to say, it's probably the same
Paul
case as anyone.
Paul just has DRS, so it's not right there. Yeah, it's a bit too much. Unfortunately for Robin, but
that makes you might feel even better. Thomas Nevitt speeding into the pit lane. And one of 3 people to stop on this lap. We've got Rico, Thomas Nevitt, and Lesty all in. Lesty go on to a set of hards. No, Thomas Nevitt on to a set of hards. Sorry, that was as the type of the cars split up. So mediums now 4. Almost half the grid in comparison to the likes of Victor Souza, Dustin Rolko, Paul McGuinness, Robin Border, Jack Ricketts, Matt Roseman and Barry Baldwin all on the soft rubber. But we know the softs do tend to fall away pretty sharpish around here. It does kill those soft tyres off very, very quickly, so I wouldn't be surprised to see people diving in within the next couple of laps. Robin Border, that will be a track extension warning, running out wide on the exit of turn 11. Into turn 12 and turn 13 they go, as Rageman is now still looking at Paul McGuinness there. A little tap to the rear end of the Scotsman in front, and the German is swarming all over the back of him in front. We've now got Fozzie Bear shaping up and passing Victor Souza into turn 1. So Dustin Rolko, who is starting to come alive now as Quinn's already disappeared 4 light years in front. Behind, Rageman does get past Paul McGuinness. So 2 changes of position, 1 for P2 and 1 for P4.
Yeah, the move for P4 from Robin was pretty similar to the one Dustin did, so nothing fancy to show there. As for the bidders, yeah, it probably pains you to hear this, but Waze is, as we speak, the net race leader. Probably, if there's a safety car. If not, then it's still Quinn. Woohoo. Is Quinn going to let someone else win this time? Is it going to be Dustin? Who knows?
Who knows? We'll have to find out if Quinn, who's only in Kia this season to stat pad, now he knows that there's no Hasselagers in here to race with. But whilst I mean, we'll see. When there's no point going on board with him because he's 22 seconds off the back of Harry Collier. But what was your fact you had for Wace? What have you got written down for him?
For Wace, well, as you're obviously very familiar with this might hurt you. So grab the tissues or whatever you got. Like, after badly damaging the car of the fastest driver in Team Speed in Saudi 2 seasons ago, Waze went up the first position at the ART short list. It has been said, however, that Waze has missed a meeting in which they would discuss possibilities because, as with today, he went to the shops.
Shocking. I mean, mine is as much of a scoop as that. Wace was caught this week at his local primary school licking the toilet seats. He said something about science, but he's now been barred from being within 400 metres of any child under 11. So lap 7 of 35, and the man in question goes and does the fastest lap of the race, as Vitinho is still all over the back of Dustin. So these two, even though they've traded positions, have not. Dustin has not managed to break away, and what this is doing is just allowing Quinn to disappear off into the ether. He's now 5.7 seconds and gaining pretty much lap upon lap of everyone behind him. And whilst you say that Wace is the net race leader, I would say that Quinn has almost got, well, almost certain. No, has he almost got a pit stop on? I'd say he's got a pit stop on Wace. So
if we were to go off by if there's a safety car out now, then Newgarden might be the net race leader.
As Dustin Rolko almost gets it all wrong going through turn 13, got on the curb, and the car was very unsettled, did not want to point in the right direction. We've now got Rageman who's joining this passing. We might go potentially 3 wide into turn 1 because you can see a move being made from Victor into turn 1. Rageman's just going to sit in behind him, and he's just going to miss the back end and the rear gearbox of Victor Souza. He's got down the inside, however. Is he going to go for a double lunge, Victor? There's no space to send that car there because there is already one alongside you, and he has found himself going from potentially fighting for one position to losing one, and he's gone around, tagged as the pair go side by side, and he unfortunately has been put in the wrong direction. Keep it off of that stuff because that will, there we go, does put it in the right direction. We do not get a VSC just yet, so clearly, Yuri, no one wanting to hear our review of Driven.
Well, can you blame them?
Apart from Rico. Rico wants it. Rico wants it.
But not badly enough.
Boring.
I can't believe you're actually shouting for safety cars to happen right now.
Look, we need to keep up the trend of having at least 5 or 6 safety cars per race. That's pretty much the only USP that Kia has.
Half a year ago, at lap 16 or so, you even mentioned that you guys only had like 4 green laps or something. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure the people only watch Kia to watch the crashes. As Paul McGuinness is now attacking Jacko. Paul McGuinness has got a time penalty with it. Jacko's got DRS, and he's either I'm not quite sure if he was defending or attacking now. I'm pretty sure he was well, he clearly got past, but if not, they were side by side. Jacko uses that second spell of DRS, which is completely cheating. I don't understand why you're allowed to get that second spell of it to effectively overtake and then break away, but there we go. F1 works in mysterious ways. This is why push to pass should be a thing. Paul McGuinness is going to run out wide. That's going to cost him some time. And in fact, we've got some time whilst we're watching Paul McGuinness here. We've got Bazza and Lesty are close as well, so we'll tune in with that for a while. We'll give the scrubs at the back a little bit of TV time. But Yuri, why don't you and I discuss the merits? Let's go for the pros and cons of why we should have push to pass over DRS.
DRS is great because it enhances overtaking. I can't say anything better than that because I am all pro push to pass as well. It's so much more fair. No.
This is meant to be a fair and balanced argument.
Well, you take the side of DRS then.
No, because I think DRS is useless. You take the side of DRS.
There you go. Buzzer all over Lesty, by the way. He wants to get by as soon as possible on these fresh tyres.
OK can't drive in a straight line as he picks up a time penalty down at 11th position. OK, whose season here is starting in a much way it finished in Cup last season. He was meant to come down to Kia to rehabilitate himself and to potentially get some race wins, but clearly not going the right way at the moment. Here comes Bazza. Surely this is the move. Lesty's defended the inside. Bazza's going to have to work hard to get around the outside because Lesty's going to wash out and he's going to show Bazza the door. But of course, Bazza will now have a little bit extra DRS and will have the inside line down into turn 2 at the second hairpin. Lesty, however, will still drive into him because, of course, he will. But he does get the move done. Lesty has burnt through the entirety of his battery. That LED is flashing on the back of that pink and black machine. Up at the front now, these two have changed position. Thomas Nevitt gets 3 seconds. We've still got Rageman trying to attack Fozzie, but he's now outside of that 1 second window, so Fozzie will be able to not worry about a attack just yet, and in fact he won't have to worry at all because into the box comes Rageman to pit off of 9-lap-old soft tyres.
And also in the pit is Quinn, who allows Rico to unlap himself. Quinn goes from softs to mediums, and you'll expect Robin to go from mediums to softs. Or to softs, whatever.
So I always find this an interesting strategy when you go soft, medium. Because I mean, you've raced with me for a while, but I always prefer to be on softs on my last stint.
But you could argue for if it's a clean race and you're out in clean air, you might just use these to build up a gap. But there's always an opportunity for a safety car, as OKK might give us. But if you're caught out by a safety car and you're on the mediums, and you're not in the position to stop yet, because you lose too many positions, then your race is basically over because you're going to be on the lesser rubber. So in a safety car packed series like JACKOCAR, you might want to save those softs for the end. Indeed,
maybe you could be correct. I always just try to bet myself having a set of softs at the end just to low fuel. Nicer feel and a little bit quicker to finish the race with. But Rageman now on the back of Wace. As you say, Wace was supposedly net race leader. He's 11 seconds behind Quinn after Quinn's made his stop. Of course, without that safety
myself.
car. I know.
Would have happened if there was
Give me a
car.
second. Gosh,
no.
Like an old woman.
Not as old as you.
Rageman into the final corner. He's following Wace and he's always bringing Paul McGuinness with him, so the three of them are going to head down the main straight. Wace is not really going to fight this one. He's going to move into the centre of the circuit, and in fact he lifts off a little bit. Paul McGuinness is going to run into the back of him. Oh, that was close. Not quite sure why Paul didn't just send it down the inside. He had plenty of room to, but Wace hugs the outside line. Paul McGuinness should take the inside line here, and Wace isn't going to fight him. And then effectively just lets the free overtake there. So I'm pretty sure it's the first time I've ever said this. Smart driving there from Wace, as he basically doesn't get involved in a fight that's not really his. These guys on much fresher tyres and were fighting towards the front of the race. 12 of 35 are done.
I bet that hurt.
I know, I was thinking that's not his style, is it?
It's funny that you say it, because I was looking at it as well, and I was like, Wace, if you're going to defend, or if you're going to at least move off your line, go to the wall. Schumacher, that dude. But well, it is what it is. Quinn carving his way through traffic. He overtook Harry, I think, last lap, or maybe 2 laps ago already. He's already on the back of Jacko, who does the boring thing and gets out of the way. So to not give us any kind of racing, great.
Do you know, and what's even more disgusting is that Jacko purposely did that so that he gave Quinn DRS down the main straight and then into turn two as
They're
well.
such good friends, are they not?
It's disgusting. It really is.
Yeah.
I think something needs to be done about it. And we're going to have to find some way to mitigate this. I mean, shameful driving. And this is really like watching Red Bull cost cap. It's... There's just nothing that you should be proud about with this. And, well, CMR Quinn 45, who knows what that racing team is? Does anyone care anymore? He is currently P2, 5.3 seconds behind Fozzie, of course. Fozzie on a Joker, so he is technically in the lead of this one by 4.7 seconds. However, well, let's count. So it's 4.5 seconds. Let's count it when we get to the main straight. If Fozzie doesn't come into the pits and go into a set of hards, because he most likely will do. I do think the medium hard probably would have been a slightly nicer strategy to be on if you're on the Joker for this one. And the softs, of course, do help you in the first stint, but once they go off, they really do go off because he's lost a second in the third sector to Quinn. So as we cross the line, Quinn is 3 seconds behind. Fastest lap of the race, 1:19.083. Let's see if he catches Fozzie by the end of the lap. Harry Collier, 5-second time penalty.
Something else we may be interested in is Paul versus Matt as they go towards turn 1. Matt doesn't defend because he's on the different tire life and thinks better of it. Maybe his time will come later on in the race. And Paul moves himself up to P4. Maybe it's time to hunt down Robin now.
As we've got Vitinho closing in on Jacko as well. The pair of them fighting over 8th and 9th position. As Vitinho, of course, the Brazilian driver. Jacko, the Bournemouthian driver. As he is making his way, as Robin picks up 3 seconds for multiple track extensions. These guys can't keep it between the white lines. There's actually quite a lot of penalties we've racked up so far. I'm not really paying attention to the fact that we've now got 7 drivers with a time penalty that'll be added on either during their next stop or at the conclusion of this race. Quinn is now right on the back of Fozzie, so 3 seconds in one lap he's made up here, and this should be pretty much elementary. Do we see Fozzie diving into the pit lane? Yes, we do. He'll go onto a set of hard tyres for the end. Quinn will probably set another fastest lap here, having had DRS. No, he doesn't. It doesn't go any faster, but he does. It does complete this lap and now has, oh gosh, what's it going to be? About a 10-second advantage over Rage Man. It's going to be upwards of 10 seconds, 9.968 almost. As there we go, 10 seconds he's got between himself and Rage Man. Paul McGuinness 3.3 back from that. So Quinn, who apparently has said that he wants to go up to Cup, it only seems fair because this is effectively like a cat playing with its food.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about it. I think neither Leroy nor me ever had 10 seconds of a gap to someone.
Not in 15 laps. We're not even halfway through this race.
No, this is credit where credit is due. This is blistering pace from Quinn, and very impressive that he can keep this up. He's also been helped, of course, due to the fact that we have not yet seen a safety car, which is boring because I've made notes, guys. I've made notes about Driven.
I did. Clearly, they know it's such a terrible movie that they don't want to hear about it.
It's the best racing movie out there. The crashes are spot on, 100% realistic. Especially when, who was it again? Because I had this written down. In Germany, where Papis was airborne and he was at least 4 meters high, which is 12 feet for you guys who
without
use
looking
inaccurate.
Do you know what? Let's break from what we said because Jacko's about to overtake Bazza.
Oh, that's not interesting at all.
No, not in the slightest. Can you name the cameo appearances from real drivers without looking at any notes?
I can't name all of them. But, I will shut up because this is nearly 3 wide. Oh, that's going to...
He's not making the corner.
See you, mate. Bye-bye. To which part of the city are you going, Buddha or Pest? Well, seeing as it's Jacko, probably Pest.
That's a solid joke there. I appreciate that one.
2 out of 10. Would not recommend.
As Jacko's now trying to get the switch back. And, he's done it again. He's done it again! As he goes off the track. You need to give that one up, Jacko. This isn't... there we go.
Oh, he is?
Yes, he's going to lose 2 positions. That's what we like
Up
to
to
see
Dustin.
here.
Well
As,
done.
as
Push him off.
Jacko's going to try and get around the outside, and hopefully he's going to get pushed off the track here. As well, Jacko, who's clearly forgotten what his brake pedal is not only lost one position, he's lost two positions. And we will continuously watch this. We will go back to the guest drivers, but we're going to watch this comedy for a couple of seconds. As Jacko's going to try and send it down the inside of both of them. No, there we go. There it is. There's the crash.
Victim of his own rules.
Oh, he's floored it as well, and he's lost the back end. Oh, a little bit of stage fright from Mr. Ricketts.
Oh, this is JACKOCAR gold.
Oh.
A lap on board with the owner, the man who made everything possible, absolutely losing it.
Wait until the C5 and we manage to get his interview from the filming day of I Am JACKOCAR over this. And
questions have to be asked.
You've got to think, don't you? I mean, it's a pretty woeful appearance from Jacko, who lined up P2 on the grid.
And the question is, what went through your mind on lap 16 as you were entering turn 1 with Dustin and I think it was Baza? Like, were you trying to be a hero? Like, it's clearly not meant to be for you, but what went through your mind?
We just have to reference this as well. Jacko started in P2. He is now 26.9 seconds, like 27 seconds off of the lead. What on earth has happened to that car?
I think Quinn Horror does, because that gap is gone. He's lost a second.
Oh, he's washed. Jacko still can't get past Vitinho here. Vitinho is actually driving around. This is the longest Vitinho's ever had his front wing on during a race. So the Brazilian, who is electing not to race in his home colours, of course, of the yellow, green and blue, but Jacko is now all over the back of him. Vitinho just needs to move around here. Jacko's trying to move his way. He's like an angry wasp in the ear of Vitinho, but Jacko's going to go down the inside. Is he going to run straight into Vitinho? No, he does actually manage to get this one slowed down, but he kicks the rear end out on exit, and Vitinho gives him a little bit of a kiss for good measure. And Vitinho, in fact, is going to allow Jacko the corner, but he will come back at him. Of course, these two have tagged already. Will we go for round 2? Jacko tries to take the line, but Vitinho takes the Jacko line on the exit, and Jacko gets on the curb, but does take the position. But these three having a nice little fight between themselves. Baz is kind of just sitting there hoping that nothing bad happens to him, as Jacko for some reason threw himself offline and put himself all out of shape for the chicane. But you can look at Baz. Baz is moving around a lot on the circuit. He's just sitting in T-cam of Jacko, and you're just watching the car in front. Not really. There we go. And that is almost a massive crash there, as Bazza, for some reason, looks like he's completely cooked those tyres. Jacko's going to get down the inside. Bazza's not usually very easy to overtake either, so he's not going to make this one as behind. We've got Vitinho and Harry Collier have had their own separate incident there, as Harry Collier's just driven straight into Vitinho. That might be side pod damage for Vitinho, who's going to come in, and as he's going to drift his way into the pit lane, straight into the wall. And does get rid of that front wing. So that pesky front wing brings us out.
Yes!
There we go. Right, so
I expect everyone to make their final stop now. I will not be noting down anything. Everyone is now finished. So,
right. Directed,
driven,
of course, by Rennie Harlin. The screenplay by Sylvester Stallone. Yuri, take it away.
Sylvester, I don't know all of these things. I know that the story is about the if we were to look at it like this time, it is about the Max Verstappen, Bo Brandenburg. He is the reigning champion. He's going for a second, and there's this young hotshot with, I have no idea who to compare him to, Jimmy Bly. And Jimmy Bly actually came third and won a couple of races, and he's now in this championship hunt. Jimmy Bly, by the way, is managed by his brother, who is a great person. You absolutely want him as your manager, because he is not abusing his power to get like deals with hot girls from the press, from like, oh well, if I give you the exclusive rights to an interview, you might want to head out to dinner with me. He absolutely controls his brother, that dictates who he talks to, how long he talks to people, and what. So yeah, the use of real driver names I've got noted down, because I heard some names like Papis and Andretti. There was this Swedish guy. What is his name? I don't know. He was in this massive incident in Texas, I believe.
You're talking about Kenny Brack.
Kenny Brack, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that was a big crash as well.
That was a big crash, yes. He was featured in the film. I recognized Tony Kanaan, and you can have one guess why I recognized it was Tony Kanaan.
One guess why you recognised it was Tony Kanaan. Well, because he was. Oh, I don't know. What's your interpretation of TK?
His big ass nose.
I was going to say he looks like Vin Diesel.
The dude is technically he is Tony the Nose Kanaan. So anyway, funny part is as soon as Joe Tanto gets called up to help Jimmy Bly out, because that's the sole reason he's making his comeback. Nice one, Rico. That's the sole reason he's making his comeback is because he needs to help out his young hotshot teammate, who kind of looks like Sebastian Vettel when he entered the scene in Formula One. So Tanto comes in, and someone I desperately recognize from that shot is that he's just casually hugging and high-fiving Mario Andretti as he walks down pit lane, which is kind of funny. So yeah. Other things that I have written down.
I can go back to it of course stars Sylvester Stallone as Joe the Hummer Tanto, the veteran champion. This is actually modelled after the 2000 kart FedEx Championship season. So before it was IndyCar, when it was known as kart, and does have cameo appearances from pretty big names, as you've kind of alluded to. Some of the Mario Andretti, of course, was in it. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, post his career in Formula One.
That's where I recognize the car from.
Yeah,
the blue and white one.
So you got Jacques Villeneuve. Juan Pablo Montoya is in it as well.
Saw him, yes. True.
Adrian Fernandez, Mark Blundell, of course, British racer that went over to did a lot better in IndyCar than he did in Formula One. Roberto Moreno, another Formula One driver as well. Kenny Brack, as you said, massive. Former champion in kart, and also had to retire after that. If you've never seen it, probably one of the biggest accidents I've ever seen where someone survived.
That is the biggest accident. It's 240.
It's literally insane that he survived. The entire car ripped in half, and he was basically the monocoque that I think spun about 40 times. As you say, TK Tony Kanaan was in it.
More because
Mauricio Gugelmin, Max Papis, Mimo Gidley, Paul Tracy is in it. Dario Franchitti, Alex Barron, and Michael Jourdain Jr. So a huge amount of guys in it. It actually stars as the team owner of the Pac West, which is the racing team that they were part of, Burt Reynolds, who is like sort of Hollywood icon. Burt Reynolds, of course, like Smokey and the Bandit, various other like huge movies that Burt Reynolds was part in, Hooper and. Gosh, what else was he in? Of course, you've seen Deliverance. You've seen him in. So it was a pretty star-studded movie, but it was just garbage. I mean, it was just the best bit of garbage movie you've ever seen.
Oh, you want to know how garbage it is? Because before Joe gets called into, they're doing a race in Chicago, and as all these spins and crashes, by the way, they all happen on the final lap because it is so exciting, and that's how racing works, because everything always happens on the final lap. Anyway, Jimmy Bly, our protagonist, goes for the move on Bo Brandenburg, who, by the way, in the very end of the movie, you'll get to see, he drives for Ganassi. So he goes for the move on Bo, and he ends up losing it because they touch wheels. And as you do, going 200 miles an hour down a straight, you end up spinning 4 times. Just 4 times, because that's what happens when you touch wheels. 4 times.
It doesn't.
Super realistic. No, they only get to 3 here.
I do like the towards the end where that Jimmy has that sort of mental lapse, but he hears Joe's words of wisdom in his head as he's driving, like when you're driving around at that speed that you kind of just go off into a trance. And
absolutely, because I was going to go to this too as I had, because then the biggest guy ever, maybe besides Arnold Schwarzenegger and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the biggest guy who they got to feature in this film was Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, and he is like 2 meters wide, so 6 feet wide, and they fit him into this tiny little kart or Indy car or whatever you want to call it, and that makes perfect sense. He rocks up to Toronto to make his rentrée into to the car championships, where he does his penny trick, and where he tosses down 3 pennies in 3 different corners, and he goes drifting over them without losing only a millisecond of time. And Jimmy Bly goes straight away, "That's impossible." And then the engineer says, "You don't want to bet me on that." And of course, in complete movie logic, he loses no time, slides through 3 corners, and picks it up. All of those interesting and spot-on pennies who stick to the tire because they're super, super hot, of course.
Yeah, so that is Driven, the 2001 movie. We hope we haven't blown our load, because we can go back to it. We've got plenty more notes.
Absolutely.
But we'll come back to it if we have another yellow flag, and another safety car. But I guess there's some racing to do here as we're about to go, and Quinn gets a restart and gets a nice restart ahead of Dustin Rocco behind. Will we have chaos? Probably not. I don't think there's enough of them to drive into each other. Well, that's a lie. You could have 2 people and they'd be bad enough to drive into each other behind. Looks as though we're going to have a couple of people all fighting for position over. You've got the likes of Fozzie Bear Rageman battling over P2 and P3. Behind, Harry Collier has dropped a couple of positions as well, as Rageman takes the curb on the inside, but does get the move done. Paul McGuinness trying to follow them behind, and it looks as though it's a clean getaway. As you can see, what we didn't, I saw it pop up, but of course we stuck to the rule. Quinn picked up a 5-second time penalty in the pit lane. Paul McGuinness is going to go around. He's just touched that auto spin curb, and he's just recovered it. That was very dangerous. Someone has decided to go scything off, and that's Harry Collier off into the gravel. And Harry caught out, I think, by Paul McGuinness slowing down or checking up after having his own issue. But back at the front, we've got the likes of Newgarden, who is being attacked and overtaken now by a number of cars, and Bazza is tempting to be one of them as he goes side by side, and Matt Roseman getting his elbows out. And, that's actually going to hurt Bazza, because Bazza has got Jacko going around him, and we've got another car going around. I think that's Thomas Nevitt, who's had his own separate incident with Michael Okeke, and that might bring out a VSC, as we've got the 2 of them trying to recover. Paul McGuinness, 3 seconds of time penalties as well, so the guys starting to rack up the slaps on the wrist by the stewards.
Yeah, you mentioned Matt Rosamond, who was being overtaken left, right, and center. After he's done the overtaking on the restart, Jacko got a bad restart, Matt got a good restart and made up some positions. He is now on the softs with 12 laps to go. That's going to be a big stretch. We know he's good on his tires, but that is a stretch.
Paul McGuinness trying to recover after losing some positions on that restart, down to 9th position. The car doesn't look as balanced as it was in the first stint. Used a little bit of outside curb there to turn it in for the chicane. He's now got to get past Bazza and Jacko, who was kind of saved. Paul McGuinness is going to go around this time, and he does spin it around right into the path of Rico, who manages to avoid it as all the cars are going to scatter. Paul McGuinness just getting on the outside curb. Tyres looks as though they'd just overheated somewhat, and he's going to have to be careful, because it's going to go around again if he's not careful. Of course, once true to life, of course, this is how physics works. Once you spin in an F1 car, then you're effectively done for the rest of time. Thomas Nevitt, another one of those who's having to flat spin his way out of an issue at turn 11, and Thomas regaining himself and back onto the track. P4 is now being fought over with Waste now on the back of Dustin Rocco. Of course, Dustin on the Joker, sitting there without a penalty, so 3 seconds off the back of Rageman, but Rageman of course with 3 seconds, so at the moment Dustin Rocco 3/10 off of the effectively it's almost a dead heat between Waste has gone off the track, and he's going to spin his way into the middle of the circuit and just about gets caught, pointing in the right direction just as the likes of Bazza and Jacko came past. But these guys all starting to seemingly struggle with these medium tyres that maybe aren't as used as the softs were by the time they pitted.
Yeah, Maybe so, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. We still got 11 laps to go to watch all this strategy and the thought process behind it fall out. I, as you were speaking, I was just keeping an eye on the top of the corner because here it pops up on another one. There are penalties left, right, and center being handed out, and I thought that it would have been funny to do maybe a shot every time a penalty pops up, and I'm very glad I didn't.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, you would be dead by the end of this race.
But we could, if there's not enough people, we could just like put in some people and then have them do shots, and then we ask them questions about the race.
Let's have a look at as I quickly take a glance down at the calendar. What have we got coming up in? So the 12th of the C5 is in Spa. We can't do it at the C5. I feel that would be funny. I would say I'd only say that because I've got that week off work. Is that I would quite happily. Do you know what? Let's choose a race this season when we do that. Every penalty that comes up, we will take a shot. I think that's a perfect.
I thought you weren't going to go with it.
Oh no, I'm fully on board with this now.
Right, let's book the next day off because. Jeez.
I mean, I've got the next 2 weeks, so I might be missing the next two. Of course, I'm moving house, but then I do have a week off in November. So there are a couple of weeks in November that are potentials for us. So if you'd like to join us, we can be doing a community. Drink along with Kia. So every time penalty that comes up, I mean, I have a feeling that might be sort of manipulated somewhat by some of the drivers that may want us to drink a few more. I'm sure the likes of Jacko and Quinn that have already gone through to the playoffs.
They don't mind too much.
May not. So it might have to be a playoff race where they're actually trying to be competent.
Talking about Jacko, he just made an overtake. And he gained 1.5 seconds whilst doing so.
Oh, it's P6, isn't it? Does anyone care about P6, really? The man started in P2 and he's already...
Got to keep the owner happy, right? So give him some screen time every now and again.
He's already 13 seconds off the lead once again, so he's got no excuses tonight. He's got a crap livery. He's driving crap, and he's on TV purely out of pity. Rather, I mean, look at the state of that car. The mud and the detritus and the filth all over it. He's clearly been driving offline and off crap on the gravel and all sorts tonight. Not a great night for Mr. Ricketts. As you can see, the gaps are starting to form. Fozzie is 0.8 of a second behind Lesty. He is bringing Newgarden with him, so I don't quite know what Matt's game is here. That's Matt Rosemond. 7-8 laps now on the softs. He's got to go another 8 laps.
Yeah.
That's a long stint. Oh yeah, I mean that's the meme, but I'm not quite sure if he's. He's having a look at Fozzie here, and he thinks better of it. Fozzie cuts across his nose and takes the racing line, but if Matt does want to get to the end of these tyres, he's going to effectively not want to be in the slipstream and having any extra temperature or. Not that makes any difference, does it really? But he wants to keep these tyres as friendly as possible.
Yeah, because he's got to start thinking about it now. Do I want to fight Dustin with everything I got to try and get fourth, and then maybe third? Because it is on the cards. Because Leslie has 3 seconds, and they're not that far off. Oh, VSC. Any pitters now?
Yeah,
those gaps are gonna.
This is time for a softs for everyone. Effectively, Quinn's got a 5-second time penalty, so he can't come in.
Nope. He'll lose too much.
Rageman doesn't want to either, but surely someone's going to risk this. VSC, you get a stop effectively for half the price.
Yes.
There we go. Matt Lester does come in. Fozzie follows him. Newgarden stays out.
Interesting.
I don't get that at all. He's got Ben Shaw in his ear.
No, Ben is not there actually. Apparently, he's got Leroy, so that's where it's gone wrong.
Ah, that is an issue. So Newgarden stays out.
Oh, full safety car.
Right. So.
Oh, and now you're slapping yourself in the face because should have pitted. should have pitted.
So, of course, this the final race of the season in Driven was actually.
Are you skipping everything? Even Germany?
Well, we could go back to Germany. I mean, there's quite a few races actually there in it. So because it goes on because it was the 2000 season. Back in the mid 2000s. The kart season or the kart championship, the schedule for it was all over the place. It's not like today where IndyCar is very much an American.
Yeah, it was actually a
Canadian
world championship.
Yeah, it was crazy, wasn't it? You look at it and you had races in Germany, you had races in Brazil, you had a race at Surfers Paradise. If anyone can remember Surfers Paradise from early video games.
In one of the parts, I think in the final race as well, yeah.
Such a good track.
Did you know that the Detroit track in the final race of this movie is made up out of combinations of Belle Isle, Long Beach, Surfers Paradise, circuit, the Gilles Villeneuve circuit in Canada, and I think some others as well, which I couldn't quite got to. In the moment where Bo Brandenburg retakes the lead in the final race, that is actually filmed on an interstate exit.
I didn't know that. So I didn't know.
If you look at it, there's just these yellow dividing sections where the exit parts way with the motorway.
I've never quite understood. I mean, it just takes us off of Driven for a second, but onto a movie that we will be reviewing later in the season, of Rush.
Oh yes, no, we will. Yeah.
So in Rush, when he goes to Ferrari, when Niki Lauda tests at Ferrari. You'd think, I mean, you're looking at Rush and you're thinking multi-million-pound film being filmed by or directed by Ron Howard. He's going to want to stay at least true to form for the majority of it. So all of the bits of Ferrari where it's filmed with Niki Lauda and Enzo Ferrari looking on and things like that, it's all filmed at Brands Hatch. It doesn't even try and not look like Brands Hatch either as well. It's just the first corner and the last corner at Brands Hatch in every single shot, but for various different races as well. So you've got all the races that happen throughout Rush all happen at Brands Hatch, but at a different corner.
Yeah, but the same goes with Driven, because I'm pretty sure that for every single race they went through, they used the start-finish part of the first one, and that would have been Chicago. You see this massive grandstand in the back, and when they talk about Twin Ring Motegi, the race they have doing in Japan, when they're on this massive grandstand on the main straight, which they don't have in Japan. One, you can't see 2 lanes of track because there's an infield circuit in the speedway section. You can't see that. And if you're at some point, Tanto and Brandenburg are having a discussion about love and passion of that. And if you look in the distance, you can see cars driving on the right side of the road.
I tell you what, though,
they don't do in Japan.
As you just know, you kind of referenced there a second. Twin Ring Motegi, what a circuit!
Absolutely.
Oh, what a track! See, this is this is back in the day when kart would they just race anywhere. But Surfers Paradise was another one. If you've never seen Surfers Paradise either in a game or you've never watched a race in real life, the track was unbelievable. It was so fast, and then for some reason just had these really tight chicanes. But we'll go back to that because, of course, we're racing once again. Quinn gets away from Rageman and Newgarden. So Rageman now already attacking Quinn. So Quinn's having to defend once again. Of course, he's got 5 seconds time penalty. Rageman with 6. Lap 31 of 35 here in JACKOCAR Kia Series as Wace and Rico have collided and they're having their own separate incident. OKK's had an incident as well. Thomas Nevitt is driving on the grass for some reason, and well, already messy as we've got cars scattering going through turn 3. The likes of Dustin, who's dropped down a couple of positions. But, well, Newgarden is, if he can keep it pointing in the right direction with these tyres, if he can keep it out of, in the track bounds, he's one of the only drivers in the top 5 without a penalty.
True. But if you look at the penalty situation and then compare that to the tyre situation, Matt's only defense was Jacko, who got absolutely destroyed by Leslie around the outside into turn 3. This helps though, because bye Matt Lester, see you later, and now it's Jacko behind Matt again. Matt could be on for the win if he keeps this up on these ancient tyres, about at the same age as he is.
Matt Lester, who for no reason at all just decided not to turn for turn 11, and then into turn 12 decided to body check his good friend Harry Collier. So that was amusing, as we've got cars now scattering. Look at the we've got Jacko, and he's starting to shape up Dustin as they go into turn one. He's going to go for a lunge. There's a little bit of contact. Jacko comes off worse out of it. In fact, he's going to lose not only one, potentially two positions, because Bazo's on the outside. Lesty's gone down the inside. Bazo's going to try and go the long way around. Jacko's trying to hold down the inside, but Bazo will have the inside line for the next corner. Jacko's going to try and get the switch back on him, try and go around the outside. He's on the button. Can he sweep back in front? Yes, he can. Nice little fight between the pair of them. However, that's not done on track. And so Baz is going to go around the outside once again. That's going to turn to the inside for Jacko. And Jacko should be able to hold on to the position. Bazza does have to relinquish that one. In fact, Harry Collier now coming to join that party. But yeah, just going back to what you were saying, is that tyre offset that Newgarden's got now is going to... I mean, he will lose 5 seconds by the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as soon as Jacko got passed by Fozzy, he also got passed by Lesty. And these two guys are now going to absolutely fly by, I reckon, on the straight. With or without DRS, they're just going to... Under the braking and coming out of the final corner and under braking into the first corner, they'll have such an advantage that it's unreal. The only hope these guys have, without fighting off each other, is that Rageman and Quinn start battling really hard and that fall back a bit more.
Yeah, looking at
it's not looking that good now for Matt with those tires.
No, and would be he would have. It was a risk staying out on those soft tyres, and going on to of course, making that move. But well, you can see Dustin trying to make the move. He's bringing Lesty with him, and as we check the tyre life for, of course, you can see the offset 13 for the top three, and then 4 for both Fozzy and Lesty. Fozzy, who's trying to get the move done. We've got a yellow flag for Rico, who's gone around, and also for Harry Collier, who's gone around. So 2 separate incidents, as we've got almost 4 own separate battles on the circuit now. We've got the battle for the lead between Quinn and Rageman. Then we've
Matt's now the only driver without a penalty.
as Fozzy gets... that's going to really hurt him, because that potentially he could have found himself potentially upwards of P2, but that penalty might only promote him to P3, but of course would be another podium, which I think I said earlier that Vitinho finished on the podium, but I think it was
just look at this run Fozzy gets.
Oh,
he's already passed him before
the start line.
Start straight, yeah.
So Matt's dropped down 2 positions there.
Now,
Lesty's going to...
Yeah, this is going to harm Matt, because... Oh, well, yes, I've stricken with my first commentator's curse. That's such a shame.
Is that just a spin, or is it a puncture?
It's a spin. I think it was a spin from the looks of it.
He drops down to 8th position. We're on the penultimate lap, 34.35. Quinn is leading. Rageman is in P2. The pair are split by 0.3 of a second. We've kind of been ignoring
what Robin
this,
just needs to do now. He's got 1 second's worth of penalties more. He's got nothing to lose because he's going to drop back anyway. Absolutely send it. If Quinn's smart,
100%.
Let him go.
So this is what I was just about to say, is that we know that the rules are relaxed on the final lap of the race. Quinn's out of battery. Rageman is almost there. He's on 21%. So if I was Rageman here, I'd think about just giving Quinn a gentle push. Maybe going into turn 2 or perhaps the exit turn 1 entry to turn 2. He's going to sit here, but here we go. Last lap of the race. Quinn leading. Robin is attacking. Will he go for a lunge? Quinn's going to defend the middle of the circuit, and Rageman's going to have to go for it now. This is the only opportunity he's going to have. Just go on. You can just send it. Just send it. It's your only chance of winning this one, because you are a second down on time penalties. I don't think you're going to find another overtaking position anymore. Really,
drop 2 positions at this rate.
Yeah, I think you kind of had to think about that in terms of just sending it on that first corner. He was within reach of him as well.
He had nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Yeah, so it's strange there for not to. Obviously, I'm sure some people want to do it cleanly, but he's gonna lose the back end as well, and that is race over for Rageman, and that might even be a a loss of podium because he's gonna.
Oh, he had that lost anyway. These two soft runners were way too quick.
So in fact, just looking at the time, Fozzie is getting within Quinn at the moment.
He's in.
He's in. So Fozzie might be taking the race win here.
Oh, he's not in. This is tight.
It's going to be very, very clear. He needs a tenth of a second across the line. Is it enough? It's going to be just short.
It is.
Oh, he does take it.
Dustin
he takes it
win.
by a tenth of a second. Dustin Rolko on a joker takes the race win. Quinn
P2
not
on a joker strategy, of course.
No, of course misses his joker, but does win on a joker, but of course not with the joker. But he doesn't pick up the extra playoff points, but he does say that he is a joker winner. Quinn in P2, Lesty P3. Rageman gets knocked off the podium. Jacko finishes 12 seconds off the lead in a pretty shameful appearance for him after starting in P2 and looking as though he was the only one to attack Quinn. Bazza P6, Wace P7, Newgarden dropping all the way down to P8 after that bold attempt at staying on the soft rubber, but maybe not the smartest of moves overall. Perhaps could have come in and attempted to go toe to toe because he did have the pace, but unfortunately the tyres fell away from him. But well, Yuri, we had time to go through Driven twice. So
yeah, but not long enough because I'll just go through it because no one cares about the podium, right? Anyway, Toronto. Toronto. We had a crash there. Did you know that Toronto actually has gravel traps and grass runoffs? According to Driven, it does. Twin Rin Motegi. Jimmy Bly channels his inner James Hinchcliffe and just forgets to turn left. And as I mentioned before, Joe Tento gives love advice, which turns into the greatest love story ever between Bo and Sophia. Absolutely amazing. This is just the best part of the race. Actually one of the a great part about this film, and I think you have to agree, is just the fact that they just pick up 2 Indy cars or champ cars and they just blast through the streets of Chicago with it. That's pretty cool.
It is awful, but it is very fun.
The best part about that is that Joe just thinks that he can just shout "pull over" to Jimmy whilst doing 200 miles an hour down the straight.
But if you've never watched Driven, it is worth a watch. Just to hate how bad it is, but it is worth a watch. Fozzie takes the win. Quinn and Lesty your podiums. As you can see, we had a couple of retirements: Paul McGuinness and Victor Souza. Newgarden, the only one without a penalty. Congratulations to him, but doesn't help because he's down in P8. Next week, Yuri, we start to get a little bit interesting. We head over to Losail for the first ever Grand Prix of Qatar in either JACKOCAR, Kia or Cup. So they'll be heading there before Cup do, to a track that not many people have driven. It's very fast. I mean, the penalties. Next week is not a week for the shot challenge.
Nope.
So, but what we will do is, let's say next week's movie, and I'm gonna go for the other, of course, typical motorsport movie. We'll go for Days of Thunder.
I've never seen that one.
It's an excellent movie. Tom Cruise, NASCAR.
Right. Oh, Tom Cruise is great because I will find a place to watch that, and we'll hopefully get more review done than this week, or hopefully not, depending, because then we get more racing. It goes either way anyway. And starting after next week, then shall we let the audience decide?
Yeah,
and then make a poll.
We'll put out a poll on the JACKOCAR Kia, and we'll let you choose your safety car intermission. Because no one wants to talk about Kia. I mean, ever really. But especially during a safety car. But thanks for joining us. Next week is over, as I said, over in Qatar for the first ever Grand Prix of Qatar at Losail at night as well. So these guys will be fighting to keep their hands, their feet, and their cars on track. Hopefully, we'll have all 18. I think it's 18 of them back. Of course, Matt Davis probably won't be here since he doesn't have the game or half a brain, as it seems. So, thanks for joining me, Yuri, once again. Hopefully, you all enjoyed it. Slightly it's a slightly climactic ending to that one. Congratulations to Dustin Rocco, first ever win in JACKOCAR. Does it in his third ever race. Lesty's very happy, P14 to P3. So you actually weren't far off with your assessment that he might do quite well. He says, "I love Hungary," but
we first and third. I wonder why.
So it's if only he could do that at 12 other tracks, and we might see him in the Championship 5. But we've got the likes of Paul McGuinness, and I'm sure he'll want to come back after a bit of a shocker tonight. And of course, commiserations Newgarden, who looked like it was all going right, but just fell away at the end. But we will have, hopefully, the majority of the grid back next week. So do join us for Qatar. If not, do join us on Thursday night for the Cup race, where, of course, it is the top tier of JACKOCAR, the actual competent and fast drivers that know what they're doing. And they will be contesting their throwback week at Spa. So we will be testing out what these guys will be doing for their Championship 5 in the middle of December. They will be doing it on Thursday with a couple of different liveries compared to what you see usually. And Jacko wants them to be all non-F1 and all at least 30 years old. So that's an interesting call with what is a very limited set of liveries available in the game, and very limited set of IQ by the majority of the drivers. So we'll see what comes out on that. So join us here on JACKOCAR. Like, share, subscribe, all the stuff they tell you to do on YouTube. And of course, we'll see you next Tuesday. Good night.
Good night.